kind of like you were mentioning yourself, like different paths, always kind of on my own thing. That's kind of been my story since early childhood. I've always kind of looked at maybe not what's the path of least resistance, but what's the path that no one else is kind of taking, and then chase that down if it feels right. I remember asking my dad when I was 6, and he's always reminded me. He's like, "You said how old do you have to be to retire?" And so I was already asking him before I even understood what a job was or anything. I had seen what my grandparents did, in my experience, they enjoyed life is what I was looking at. I said, that's kind of what I want to do. Oh, they're retired. Okay, that's what I want my job to be. He's like, well, it's not really that simple. But I graduated high school at 16 and I started traveling. I moved to Spain by myself and then came back and did a little college. And then I moved to Europe by myself at 19 and then came back. And it kind of gave me the feeling of, okay, I want to travel in life, and whatever I'm going to do as a career needs to involve some sort of travel. So my love for music has stemmed from early childhood. My mother plays piano, and so she got me into it around 10. So around 14, I picked up the guitar, and I've been self-taught on both of those instruments. I started singing in my teen years, and so music was always something that was part of my life, but it wasn't necessarily something I considered my career or my main path until I was around 25, and I decided to give it a shot, and it felt so right that I started creating music and writing music, and I moved off to Nashville and I cut my first EP, which, kind of like what we were saying a little while ago about an album can tell a story from the first song to the last song. And the Retrospect EP that I put out in 2019 kind of does that. It kind of tells a story. Um, Whereas the songs I've put out after that, they're kind of singles because once I moved to the music capital, at least for music business, I learned that you get a lot more traction with your music if you take each single and separate them and promote each one and kind of create these little islands that can have their own attention being drawn towards them instead of just releasing everything under one project and seeing how far it can go. So that's kind of the tactic I've been taking lately is focusing on singles and putting those out. And lately, say I've just turned 31 and I've been working on opening a music venue in Mississippi. So it's a few hours away from Nashville, and it has a natural amphitheater and it's 35 acres, and people will be able to come in the spring, and it holds about 200 people, and so they can camp out and they can enjoy live music, crafts, and food and stuff like that. So I've always chased the music, and I got to thinking a few years ago, what if I bring the music to me and I start, finding a way to interact with these artists that I respect and these promoters that I'm always trying to get the attention of. What if I just bring them to me? So in addition to creating music, I'm always working on this homestead slash music venue. And then in the meantime, I got a call from a boss that I used to have from years ago. I gave his son piano lessons and he got me into robotics. And so now I've been on tour with Drake for the last 3 months now, and we have about a month left to go. And we've been doing 56 shows between the United States and Canada. And so I'm helping program and operate robots that stand up and they shoot lasers out of their head, and they hit lasers into their hands, which are mirrors, and they send the lasers to the opposite end of the arena, and they're dancing and they're choreographed. So it's a gag, but it's a really fun one that adds a lot to the show. And I wasn't going to be on a tour bus of my own anytime soon, so I figured it'd be a great career opportunity, and it has been. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of really great people, and of course, I've gotten to see cities that I wouldn't have seen this soon. So yeah, that kind of brings you up to date on me. I've got another month left on this, and then once I'm back home, I'll jump back in the studio, and I've got about 8 songs that I'm hoping to get recorded this winter, and that'll give me plenty of material to work with next year. I'll start kind of releasing them with that strategy of promote each one as a single, and then if I do come up with a collection of thoughts that are one story, maybe I'll consider doing an album again.
Wow. That
I
is
hope
like,
that wasn't too much. Like, I just feel like I just unloaded my life on you.
I mean, I'm not saying that therapy session's in session at the moment, but wow, holy shit. Now I'm like, started out with a I graduated from high school at the age of 16, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Spain in 17. Um, New album came out, and I'm like, just keeps going. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
Weird, weirder, yeah.
Like I saw the Drake photos and whatnot, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then when you're like seeing, how do you just jump into like several different paths and then just be like, yeah, I'm also doing this too.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my ADD, maybe I don't know what it is, but I really do enjoy having my hands in different worlds, and that way you kind of, I don't know, variety is the spice of life kind of thing.
Gosh, man, I'm there's so much to break down out of that whole synopsis of your life so far. Um, I want to go a little bit backwards in a way.
Yeah,
Starting with the most current, you're currently on tour with Drake, and as a member of this robotics team setup. If I'd known this earlier, we could have did an in-person interview at the Detroit location, the Detroit show.
yeah, that would have been fantastic.
I'm curious as how you got into the idea of just getting into the robotics world. Like, what was
Yeah.
that motion of you being like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna learn robotics?
I've always really enjoy just saying yes to the opportunities that seem semi-logical, and they're semi-safe, and then if they're safe and they're reasonable, that kind of thing, then it's a yes for me if it's a new experience. And so when I was living in Nashville, as kind of a side hustle, I was giving piano lessons, and I ended up giving lessons to a kid whose father does all sorts of really interesting things with robotics in the entertainment industry for Lady Gaga and The Rock in his latest superhero movie. And then there's one-offs where it's like maybe an art display in Asia or something like that, right? So it's always kind of random. But and he was like, do you want to be my personal assistant? After we got to know each other, because he needed help, so I would kind of help him in his life, and I would travel with him, and I saw what he did. And as those things go, you build a relationship, and then you eventually, do you want to learn, what I'm doing? And of course, that was a yes from me. So we hung out and worked together for maybe 6 months. But no matter what it is in life that I'm doing on the side, if I have to take away too much of my time from my own music and my main goal in life, which is to be a successful musician with a large enough following to create, a sustainable living from it. If I'm having to focus too much on waiting tables, or because I'll do anything from playing a gig to waiting tables to being on tour, doesn't matter. It's always just a something to fund the real mission, which is to create music. So it got to a point when I was the personal assistant that I was like, I'm spending too much of my time doing this. So I left. I walked away from it, and I was gone for about a year. And then so I was full time in Mississippi, working on my venue and working on myself, playing gigs 3 or 4 nights a week. And then out of the blue, my old boss called me back, and he says, "Hey, we got a really great gig here on the Drake tour." And he gave me one day to decide. He said, "I need you to decide before tomorrow evening. Are you good for 4 months on the road?" And I mean, long days, 16 to 20-hour days. And we went 44 days in a row without an off day. So we were just pulling like 120-hour weeks back to back to back. And every 48 hours is a new city. And so you're always just luggage on your shoulder, or it's 5 in the morning and you're in a freezing cold, dark arena and you're programming. And so it was work I wasn't used to, but it was an adventure I was ready for. So I said, yeah, I canceled or rescheduled all of my gigs throughout the summer, and I packed up my bags and I left, and that was about 90 days ago.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, so I
And
just kind of
with
stumbled into it.
and with that in mind, I'm gonna assume that you kind of help across it out, that you've kind of learned a little bit more of the touring process with something so big as a Drake show.
Yeah, I mean, truly overwhelming when I first got here, because I knew, okay, this is going to be, it's going to be all the stuff you would expect, right? But then it was so much more. And I got to, and you can't help but to think about your own music career and go, wow, here I am, one guy, one guitar, one piano, and I go into some old dusty bar and I play my songs and a few cover songs for a few dollars, and I call myself an entertainer. And then yet I walk into an arena with 20,000 people and I see one guy, one microphone, and he's entertaining 20,000 people for 2 hours singing hit after hit. He's making $5 million per show, and these people are, they're fainting and crying and passing out, and their love for this artist knows no bounds. And you just can't help to be like, we're in the same world, but we're doing such vastly different things. And then
Yeah.
so you start to kind of question, am I a musician? Am I an entertainer? And even though I'm on this really small level, and then it's a roller coaster. You have those days, and then you have days where you're like, of course, of course I'm a musician, of course I'm an entertainer. And everyone was at this stage in their career, and so I'm just at that stage, and I'm moving forward, and you have to be patient with yourself. And then the next day, you're like, nope, no, no, I'm giving up the music forever. you know.
Wow. It does create a more of that dynamic of understanding what you could do and what you could be and then what you could do to get to that point.
Mm.
It's very interesting to like knowing that you can build like see the other side and see how crazy intense and be able to be like, yeah, no, is that what I
Wow.
want?
And that too, do I even want that? Do I even want anything
Yeah.
near that? And truly, I would be a lot happier somewhere in the middle, because, it's hard to I think it's hard to live a semi-normal life when you've got that kind of fame surrounding you.
Yeah, like I think about that quite a bit with a lot of musicians I interview. It's like I have no issue doing, a sold out show at a 300 person venue, but to do a sold out show in front of, a 10,000 person venue is so scary to know that you made an impact on that many people as opposed to this so many people here.
Yes, absolutely. Like, and so really I've just learned so much about myself and about kind of my goals. And, honestly, it's hard to hit a target that you can't see. And that seems to be true in life, no matter what you're after. And so this opportunity has provided me a new visual on a new target. And so, now at least now I can see the target and say, okay, like if I, find success, if I find, that it's working, at least I can see like where I'm headed and where I want to go, and, and see down the road a little further rather than just as far as the headlights provide. It feels like I turned on the brights for a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I can see down the road, hopefully.
Well, you've already created that opportunity by creating a venue. Like that's insane to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was kind of, it started out as me wanting to kind of run away to the woods and get off grid and build a cabin and just have some peace and quiet. And because I was living in Denver and I was living a pretty busy life, I was working in the cannabis industry, and I was helping to run one of the. It was at the time it was the third busiest medical marijuana company in the world, and so we were doing insane amounts of business, and it would just keep me up at night, with emails and compliance issues. And so I was like, okay, I'm done living the busy city life. Let me run back to Mississippi where my roots are. I'll carve out a place in the woods, and I'll just get cozy. And that led to writing music, and then that led to boredom. And I was like, oh, I can't just sit out here in the woods and play the guitar. So logically, I'll go to Nashville, and I'll get my heart broken, and then I'll come back to Mississippi and realize, oh, okay, you know what? This space, this big empty space with a big amphitheater that's already here. After I bulldozed everything out, and I built the cabin, put in electricity, and all this, and I realized this could be a music venue. I was like, it's perfect for that. It's got a really long driveway. We can fit 250 people back here. So why not? And I mean, that would just be, in my eyes, the most rewarding thing. Even, I wouldn't want to make any money on it. I would want to sell tickets enough to pay for the musicians to get there and maybe create some merch for people to buy. But I don't want to see a dime from it. Just cover the overhead and see what kind of beautiful experience you could create. And then if it wasn't as fun as you thought it was, then it just goes back to being your yard afterwards. So really no love lost there.
I love that you always have like this idea of it's a sense of community without it being too much of a pressure to be a community. That's
Sure, right, because if people are always searching for something, and it's connection, and you say hey to somebody and it catches them off guard, and because we feel it in our own lives, if we're having a tough time, whatever, and someone reaches out and makes an effort to connect with us, we're like, oh, I feel so much better now. So
yeah.
the more of that we have, I think the better off we are.
I know this whole interview is going to be mostly about your new song, but we did also just talk about all the new adventures you're going through at the moment. Like that's so insane and so cool at the same time. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Part of me is also thinking like you have to be like a Sagittarius over here.
A Virgo.
You're a Virgo. Holy shit. All right, all right.
Yes.
All
How
right.
about yourself?
I'm a Capricorn, so
One, okay.
all
It's
right.
so funny because I wasn't like the biggest believer in it all until a friend was like, "Trust me, what's your birthday and what was the time of your birth?" So I tracked all the information down, the minute, right, the location, geographically, all this. Gave it to my friend. She typed it in to her app, hands me the phone, and it was like 10 pages of the
Oh
most
no, yeah.
accurate. Oh my God.
Wait,
I
wait,
was like,
woman.
it was like someone had followed me around my whole life, documenting my innermost thoughts.
It's
I
insane. As
was
someone
like,
who's like I'm a skeptical myself, it's just but like hearing gosh, I had my chart read to me back in January and
yeah,
her going through the whole thing and procedure, I'm like, what do you know this?
yeah, yeah.
How do
How
you
do you
know
know?
this?
I know it's not even vague stuff that you would expect. Like, no, it's like really specific.
Yeah, it's insane. Like this is like my chart wise. Oh,
Nice.
so like I got the whole thing done. Um,
Oh, that's so cool. I want to do that someday. I want to have my chart read.
it was fun. And I'm that person who's like, all right, I'm gonna be skeptical. I'm gonna let you just guess everything
Right.
and see if it's right. And then at the end of it, I'm like, holy shit,
I was
wait.
like, how? How?
Everything happens to me that's either positive or negative during a solar eclipse because I was born during a solar eclipse. Okay.
Okay.
All
All right. And
right.
Mercury being in retrograde, I can always tell when Mercury's in retrograde because life's a roller coaster. No one's communicating properly. Everything's falling apart. I'm falling
Yeah.
apart. And then I check on it. I'm like, Mercury's in Gatorade again. Yeah.
Though I'm find it very fascinating that as a Virgo who's doing all these different activities, the structural mindset, is it there or is it just because you said earlier it was like you say yes to everything right away, but is there a part of you that's like, I should go buy the books on this to give it time?
Sometimes, but then, I'm like, yeah, that's the other thing. I'm probably impatient. It probably ties into my ADD. And it's like, so I want to be doing so many things all at once. And I feel like, life is so big and who knows how much time we have. So I'm kind of always almost in this rush to move the ball forward with things, which, it's not necessarily always a good thing because you can overwhelm yourself. You can almost vapor lock yourself when you look around and say, there's 1,000 things that I want to do. Um, I've started reminding myself that it's want to do, it's not need to do, right? The things that we need to do are like eat, sleep, love. And like if you're doing all those things, then it's all want. So you can't overwhelm yourself with the things you want to do because there's no right priority in which to do them. You just do them as you do them. So I do see the negatives of always saying yes and moving forward. And it can be a strain on, my own life and maybe relationships and stuff like that. But again, it just goes back to there's so much to do. And I feel like we're also capable of doing these things so that if there's something that fuels you and gets you fired up inside, that's a sign to just chase it. And fortunately, unfortunately, everything fires me up. If it's a fun, new, exciting thing, it's like I'm in. Like let's go, let's jump off that cliff, or let's go take that weird job.
See, that's one of the main things I was like, "Ah, that has to be Sagittarius vibes in there somewhere."
It's probably there's something blended there, right? Maybe that's my rising.
You
Yeah.
have a new song out now. It's been out for a couple of days, which is Another Day. Speaking of a
Yes.
couple of days, I'm s- I'm curious on the writing process for Another Day.
Yeah. So, it was. I had started when I was working that job as a personal assistant. I was doing a lot of driving, and I was alone a lot in the car rides, and that led me to experimenting with rap music. And I would put on these beats, and I would just start going, freestyling. And occasionally I would stumble upon a thought that I could really flesh out. And if I found the right beat, it really felt natural. And I said, why not experiment with a genre that's totally out of, my wheelhouse, and no one that considers himself a fan of my music would expect it to be the next song, but it feels right. So, and kind of like all the other things in life, I was like, screw it. Let's do a rap song. So, I had a friend send me that beat, and I thought, wow, this is really great. And I couldn't really think of anything for it at first, so I kind of put it in my pocket. Fast forward, 6 months, and I had met someone and gotten into a relationship, and it didn't end great at all. And so, I had all these feelings of like you would have after a breakup. And music, can be this healing thing. And one day I'm driving, and I revisit this beat, and the whole song just kind of came out. Just it was so each, it's really just me complaining about, getting cheated on. And so it's like your classic, like, brokenhearted guy, just complaining to the rhythm. But it felt right, and it helped me so much. Just like, even to the point where I was so satisfied with the song that I was like, you know what? If that's the game that the universe wants to play, where it trades pain for art, then let's play. And I was like, because it seemed at that point like the art that I got from the pain was worth it. And so because I enjoyed the song, you know, and so that's the other thing is I make the music primarily for myself, and not in like a selfish way, but more of like a therapeutic way. And then my first hope afterwards is that someone else can resonate with it and connect with it. But kind of like when I started playing music as a kid, I would just play it, to myself in my bedroom, and it would help me with hard days. And so that's still kind of the goal, is to create music that helps me heal and grow. And that's what this song was kind of about. And it kind of just came out, and I kept it.
Wow. Yeah, when I listened to that song, because I had listened to your previous stuff before I started listening to yours, so it was a complete 180 for me when I heard it. I was like, wow, wait, this is the direction? Okay. All right.
Yes.
So it was very interesting to hear the dynamics switch in the song. So hearing the writing process, it was very interesting to know that it kind of just felt like it came all together in one day kind of shot.
Did. It just fell out, and I think I recorded it that night, and just couldn't wait to get it done. And then it snowed the next day, and I said, I should go outside and film a little music video for this. So I just went, down to the creek and found a snowy bank and set up all my phone and everything, and just recorded that. Um, and then that was kind of it. I kind of shelved it again after that, and it wasn't until I teamed up with Gramophone, and they heard it, and they said, maybe we should focus on promoting this one a little bit. And so trying to give it kind of a new life, and release it and get it out there.
So that's still insane that you were like, yeah, I'm gonna record it all in one night and then be like, I'm just gonna do a music video the next day. That's like I would never have thought, I don't know, whenever I finish with these interviews, I don't touch it for 24 hours and then I'll get
Yeah.
back to it the next day because it's just like, all right, it's had its moment, give it a moment to breathe and then come back later. But the fact that you just jumped right into it and it's like, yep, let's music video. Got this.
I think that's because, like, I know myself, and if I don't strike while the creative iron is hot, I may get distracted by something shiny, and and then I may not ever get to the end of that project. So it's like,
Yeah.
if I'm feeling it on the music thing, I'll try to just get the thing completed, because I know myself. I'm quick to get distracted.
All of that. And with the song coming out while you're on tour with Drake and your robotics crew, how does it feel kind of like teen because you're supposed to be working on this show every night and then to be turned around and be like, yeah, I got a brand new song out. How does that
You
feel
know,
in terms of dynamic wise working?
it's good internally because I feel like although I feel productive that I'm on this tour and everything, it's something that if I'm not working on my music career at the same time, I feel like I'm slacking. And so it's really helped me feel like, okay, you're not putting the music career on hold. You're inching forward slowly in the background, although you're working whatever 16-hour days in this arena. At night, I'm going home and I'm sending emails and I'm making cold calls and I'm connecting with people like yourself and Samantha. And so in the background throughout the day, I remind myself, don't worry, you're still making a little bit of progress. Remember, you got that song coming out, and oh, you got that interview coming up. So it's been good to kind of help me stay motivated about my own stuff. And I really don't tell anybody on the tour about it because the politics are so funny and the delicate
Yeah.
ecosystem that we have. You know, it's 120, 160 people, and you live, eat, sleep, breathe, work with them, everybody constantly. And so it's nice to I don't really want them thinking that I'm losing focus on anything. Oh, he's worried about his music career. He's not worried about the project. So it's kind of something I've kept mostly to myself here. Um, but the tour's almost over and I've connected with a lot of people on social media. So it's not like a big secret or anything, but definitely something I kind of just remind myself of throughout the day.
No, I like that. I love that there's such a separation integrity involvement in this.
Yeah.
I know, gosh, because we can't always be telling everybody what we do in our personal lives and or side hustles all the time, because after a while they're gonna get sick and tired of it. Yeah,
Exactly. There are.
we know you're a starving artist, but you're also in charge of this animatronic over here in the next 2.5 hours.
Right. We need you. We can't be worried about you. Worried about your little music career. We need you to worry about this $10 million
Yeah.
show we're putting on tonight. Right.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you do keep strong on the separation. I think that's amazing. I know I wish I can stick to that. I wouldn't be missing out on so many shows if it wasn't for me being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna interview Hunter Myers, tomorrow. I'm gonna be going to Flogging Molly on Saturday.
Oh my God. No, but it's fun. Also, people. I think people care more than we think they care, and so we tell ourselves like, oh, don't say that because maybe they're not going to care. But I think people are genuinely interested in what we're
Yeah.
doing anyway, and so I think maybe it's me being a little shy, but I don't think there's anything wrong with you sharing the fun, cool things you have going on in your life.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that because we both have to think about it in the contents of we're advertising.
Yes.
We need to promote our shit. We need to promote the new things that we have in our lives. You have
Yeah.
a new song out now on all platforms and a music video, and you're on social media promoting it. And you also have a venue that's going to be open up to the public in late May. And it's like the idea of having to make sure, oh, yeah, that's right. I am shy. I don't want to, I don't want to say that I'm doing this, but I got to at the same time. And it's exciting and nervous. And it's
It
a
is.
fun
I'm the worst about marketing myself. I cannot market myself to save my life. Anyone else or any other product, I can sell it. I could sell
Yeah.
ice to an Eskimo, but not if I'm the ice. If I'm the ice, I'm like it's not that good. It's okay. You don't want this ice. It's like having
No,
someone else help with that is definitely something I'm looking forward to in the career.
and that's why you got people like myself who are here to
Yeah.
help open up a door and let you have the moment to get your voice heard,
Yeah.
unlike a show where you have to clock in and go and work on the equipment and then clock back in and be like, oh shit, that's right, I gotta talk about my music.
That's right. Yeah.
So with that being said, not saying I'm gonna try to slowly wrap this up for the interview wise, but this is your moment, your little spotlight. Where can we find you?
So you can find me on, your favorite streaming site. You can find me on Instagram. I also have a website, and I try to keep everything titled the same. It's Hunter Myers Music, whether that's .com or Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, that kind of stuff. And I'm always trying to keep fresh things posted. So that's where you can find me. And that's also where you can stay updated on the music festival that's coming up. It's going to be called Fern Hollow because there's all sorts of beautiful ferns that grow around there, and that name seemed pretty natural. So on those same platforms, I'll kind of start advertising for the festival there as well.